Tonight, we're diving into a tale wilder than a night's fever dream. Picture yourself in 1152, Poitiers, France, where the air smells of wax candles and scheming. You're in the heart of Eleanor of Aquitaine's world, a queen sharper than a dagger's edge, stuck in a marriage to King Louis VII that's crumbling faster than a peasant's bread. You're no royal. Trust me, your horse-riding skills are more donkey cart than destrier. But tonight, you're Eleanor's confidant, tiptoeing through her palace to spark her great escape. So, before you get cozy, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you enjoy this. Drop a comment about where you're listening from, or what time it is, and let's make this a fireside chat. Now, turn off the lights, switch on the fan's hum, and let's begin. You're creeping through the stone corridors of Poitiers' palace, the kind of place where tapestries glare like judgmental ants, torches flicker, casting shadows that dance like they're mocking your stealth. You're clutching a tiny silver medallion, a gift from Eleanor herself, engraved with a lion, her sigil. It's warm in your palm, almost glowing, but you're too busy dodging creaky floorboards to care. Your job: get to Eleanor's chambers without alerting Louis's nosy guards, who patrol like they're auditioning for a medieval cop drama. You're not exactly James Bond. Your cloak snags on a candelabra, nearly setting your sleeve ablaze. Great, you mutter, patting out sparks. Burning alive wasn't on the to-do list. Eleanor's waiting, perched on a velvet stool, her auburn hair glinting like she's the main character in a saga. She's 30, radiant, and done with Louis's pious whining. You hand her the medallion, and she smirks. You're late, she says, like you're the one who had to dodge a guard, snoring louder than a boar. She's planning to ditch Louis, her husband of 15 years, whose idea of fun is praying while she's out here craving power and Aquitaine's sunny hills. Their marriage is a diplomatic disaster, and you're helping her break free. You whisper. The stables are ready, but we've got to move. She nods, slipping a dagger into her sleeve. Let's not keep freedom waiting. She kips. Now, let's talk history. The orthodox event here is Eleanor's decision to annul her marriage to Louis VII in 1152, a bold move that shook Europe. The church granted it on shaky consanguinity grounds, basically. They were too related, which was a convenient excuse for political splits. This wasn't just a divorce, it was a power grab. Eleanor, heiress to Aquitaine, was a bigger catch than Louis's entire kingdom. You're helping her reclaim that power, but it's riskier than jousting drunk. If Louis catches you, it's not a timeout, it's a dungeon. You slip behind a tapestry as a guard stomps past, his armor clanking like a medieval dishwasher. You're sweating, wondering why you didn't stay home baking bread. Joke 1. You try sneaking like Eleanor. Spoiler, you'd trip over your own ego and wake the whole castle. Eleanor's got this down, though. She's already mapping escape routes in her head, probably while judging your knot-tying skills. You're carrying a satchel with her essentials, a cloak, some gold, and a book of poetry because, well, she's Eleanor. You're tempted to peek at the book, but she'd probably quiz you on troubadours later. Here's a quirky fact. Eleanor's court in Poitiers was a hotspot for troubadour culture, where poets sang about love and chivalry. Think of it as the 12th century equivalent of a poetry slam, but with lutes and way more velvet. She wasn't just a queen, she was a cultural influencer, setting trends while Louis was busy fasting. You're carrying her poetry book, and it's heavier than your confidence right now. You pause by a window, moonlight spilling over Poitiers' spires. The town's quiet, but you know Louis's spies are out there, sniffing for treason like hounds. You're not alone in this plot. Eleanor's trusted maid, Isabel, slips you a map scratched on vellum. It's a maze of backroads to dodge Louis's men. Isabel's got a face like she's seen too many royal tantrums, and she hisses, "Don't lose this, or we're all stew." You nod, stuffing the map in your tunic, but it crinkles louder than your last attempt at subtlety. Joke 2. You handling a secret map, that's like trusting a cat with your car keys. Disaster's coming. Eleanor chuckles, catching your fumble. You're no spy, she says. But you'll do. High praise. Considering she's pickier than a monk at a feast. Let's dive into a scholarly debate. Historians like Dr. Amy Kelly argue Eleanor orchestrated her annulment with surgical precision, manipulating church loopholes to ditch Louis while keeping Aquitaine. Others, like Dr. Ralph Turner, say Louis pushed for the split, tired of Eleanor's dominance and their lack of a male heir. You're in Eleanor's camp. Obviously, she's too sharp to let Louis call the shots. You're passing her a coded note, written in Latin, to throw off snoopers. It says, Council at Beaugency. March. That's where the annulment will go down. If you can get her there, you're almost at the stables when a door creaks. It's Brother Bernard, Louis's favorite monk, waddling through with a candle and a frown. He's got a nose for trouble and a grudge against Eleanor's worldly ways. You freeze, heart thumping like a war drum. Eleanor pulls you into an alcove. Her hand steady. Breathe. She whispers, like she's done this 100 times. You're not cut out for this. Your stealth is more clumsy squire than mastermind. Joke 3. You hiding from a monk. That's like losing at hide-and-seek with a toddler. You're that obvious. The stables are close, but the palace feels like a trap. You're weaving through servant quarters, where a cook's humming a tune about lost love. It's oddly soothing, like a lullaby for your nerves. You imagine Eleanor riding free across Aquitaine's fields, her lion banner snapping in the wind. That medallion in your pocket, it's warm again, like it's got a mind of its own. You don't know it yet, but it'll matter later. For now, you're focused on not tripping over a bucket some servant left out. Joke 4. You navigating a palace. That's like me trying to parallel park in a chariot, pure chaos. You reach the stables, where a groom named Hugo waits with 2 horses. He's loyal to Eleanor, but his shifty eyes make you wonder if he'd sell you out for a sack of grain. You help Eleanor mount her horse, a sleek mare named Mist. She looks regal, like she's already queen of the world. You're on a nag that looks ready to nap, and you're praying it doesn't bolt. Joke 5. You on horseback. That's like putting a penguin on a skateboard. Good luck. Champ. Eleanor leans over. Keep up, she says, her grin sharper than her dagger. You're in deep, but there's no turning back. The night's cold, and Poitiers' walls loom like they're judging your life choices. You're not just helping Eleanor escape a marriage, you're kicking off a saga that'll reshape Europe. The medallion's glow fades, but you feel its weight. Your new hero. But tonight, you're part of something bigger. The horses snort. Ready to run. Eleanor's eyes gleam with fire. You take a breath, and the world holds still, waiting for her next move. You're galloping out of Poitiers under a moon that's stingier with light than a miser with coin. Eleanor of Aquitaine's ahead, her mare, Mist, cutting through the night like a comet. You're on your sorry nag, which you've nicknamed Stumbles, clinging to the reins like they're your last shred of dignity. The silver medallion, that lion-engraved trinket from Eleanor, is tucked in your tunic, warm again, like it's whispering secrets you're too frazzled to hear. You're no knight, your horse, riding's more panicked flailing than chivalric charge, but you're Eleanor's shadow now, racing toward freedom. The plan: ditch King Louis VII's spies and get to Beaugency for the annulment. Easy. Right. Except you're dressed as a pilgrim. Your cloak smells like damp wool, and you're pretty sure Stumbles hates you. The road's a muddy mess, twisting through forests that creak with every gust. Eleanor's disguised too, her auburn hair hidden under a hood, but she's still got that queenly vibe, like she could sass a dragon and win. You're dodging Branch, praying you don't faceplant into a ditch. Joke 1. You blending in as a pilgrim that's like a cow passing for a courtier one sniff. And you're busted. Eleanor glances back, her smirk saying she's clocked your panic. Eyes on the road. She calls, not your impending doom. You nod. Boot Stumbles lurch, nearly launching you into a thorn bush. Let's ground this in history. The orthodox event is Eleanor's flight from Poitiers in early 1152. a daring move to escape Louis's control after their marriage soured. She didn't just stroll out. She slipped through his network of loyalists, who were itching to drag her back to Paris. Aquitaine, her duchy, was her prize, and Louis wasn't about to let it go without a fight. You're her accomplice, carrying a fake pilgrim's staff. That's more prop than weapon. It's got a carved dove, which you're clutching like a lifeline as you ride. You pull up at a crossroads, where a rickety sign points to Orléans. Eleanor halts, scanning the shadows. Louis's men are close, she says, her voice low but steady. You're sweating, wondering how she's so calm when you're one bad sneeze from blowing your cover. A distant ouf beat echoes, and you freeze. It's probably a merchant, but your brain's screaming knights. You're ready to bolt, but Eleanor grabs your arm. Breathe, she says, like it's that simple. Joke 2. You staying cool under pressure, that's like a bard nailing a ballad on his first try. Pure fantasy. Here's a quirky fact. Medieval pilgrims often carried badges sewn onto their cloaks, like souvenirs from holy sites. Eleanor's got one pinned to her disguise. A tin scallop shell from Santiago de Compostela. To sell the Pilgrim Act. You've got a fake one too. But it's bent. And you're paranoid. It screams fraud. You're weaving through a village now, where candlelit windows glow like suspicious eyes. A dog barks, and you nearly jump out of your skin. Eleanor chuckles. You're jumpier than a squire at his first tourney, she says. You mutter something about needing a nap, but she's already planning the next move. You're carrying that vellum map from Isabel, the maid, but it's smudged from your sweaty grip. It points to a safe house in a town called Blois, where Eleanor's allies wait. You're supposed to flash the medallion to prove you're legit, but you're terrified you'll drop it in a puddle. The road narrows, and you spot a lone rider ahead, his cloak flapping like a vulture's wings. Eleanor slows, her hand on her dagger. Stay sharp, she whispers. You're about as sharp as a butter knife. But you nod, gripping your staff like it's Excalibur. Joke 3. You facing a spy. That's like me challenging a hawk to a staring contest. I'd blink first. Let's dive into a scholarly debate. Historians like Dr. Marjorie Chibnall argue Eleanor's escape was a masterclass in logistics, with safe houses and loyal vassals prepped months in advance. Others, like Dr. David Crouch, suggest it was more chaotic, with Eleanor improvising as Louis's men closed in. You're leaning toward Chibnall's view. Eleanor's too cunning to wing it. You're passing her a waterskin, your hands shaking, when she points to a faint light in the distance. Blois, she says. You're relieved, but the rider's still trailing, and you're not sure if he's friend or foe. The safe house is a merchant's home, tucked behind a bakery that smells like heaven. You dismount, knees wobbling, and stumbles snorts like he's judging your life choices. The merchant, a wiry man named Giles, checks your medallion and ushers you inside. Eleanor's already charming him, asking about his trade routes like she's not a fugitive. You're slumped by a fire, clutching a mug of ale, wondering how you got here. Joke 4. You keeping up with Eleanor's schemes. That's like me acing a Latin exam. Nice dream. Zero chance. Giles hands you a fresh cloak, muttering about Louis's patrols. You're starting to think everyone's a spy. Inside, Eleanor pores over the map, her finger tracing a river. We cross at dawn, she says. You're nodding, but your brain's stuck on the rider from earlier. Was he watching? You glance at the medallion, its lion catching the firelight. It's glowing again. Or maybe you're just exhausted. You're not built for this. Your stealth's more tripping over a loot than sneaky rogue. Eleanor catches your frown. You're doing fine, she says, which feels like a miracle. You're passing her a quill to mark the map. Your small role in her grand escape. The night's quiet, save for the fire's crackle and Giles's snoring. You're drifting, picturing Aquitaine's vineyards, where Eleanor will rule free. The medallion's warmth lingers, a callback to Poitiers' stables. It's more than a trinket. but you're too tired to puzzle it out. Joke 5. You unraveling medieval plots, that's like a goat running a tavern. Adorable. But messy. Eleanor's voice pulls you back. Sleep, she says. Tomorrow's harder. You curl up by the hearth, the world fading to the hum of her plans. As Blois' bells toll softly in the dark, you're crouched in a rickety rowboat, the Loire River's current tugging like it's got a personal grudge. It's dawn, 1152, and the fog's so thick you can barely see Eleanor of Aquitaine, who's steering with the focus of a hawk. You're no sailor, your rowing's more drunken flailing than Viking grace, but you're helping her cross to safety. Away from King Louis VII's spies. The silver medallion, that lion-engraved keepsake, is heavy in your pocket, glowing faintly like it knows something you don't. You're shivering, your pilgrim disguisaden, and the river smells like regret and fish. Eleanor's calm, her hood up, but her eyes scan the mist like she's reading fate itself. Your job, keep rowing. Don't tip the boat, and pray you reach the other side before trouble finds you. The water's choppy, and every splash feels like a shout to Louis's men. You're gripping the oars, knuckles white, when Eleanor hisses, steady. Easy for her to say she's not the one whose arms feel like overcooked noodles. Joke 1. You rowing a queen to safety. That's like me leading a choir loud. Messy. And off-key. She smirks, catching your wobble. If we sink, she says, I'm blaming your technique. You mutter something about needing a vacation, but the fog's got you paranoid, and you swear you hear hoofbeats on the shore. Let's anchor this in history. The orthodox event is Eleanor's perilous journey through hostile territory in 1152, dodging Louis's forces, who wanted her back under his thumb. The Loire was a key crossing, a gamble to reach her allies in Anjou. If caught, she'd lose Aquitaine and her shot at freedom. You're her lookout, squinting through the mist for any sign of trouble. The boat creaks, and you're praying it holds together better than your nerves. A fish jumps, and you nearly drop an oar. Eleanor raises an eyebrow. Nervous, she asks. You nod, wishing you'd stayed in Blois with that cozy fire. The far bank's a shadowy blur, but you spot a flicker torchlight. Your stomach drops. Eleanor, you whisper, pointing. She nods, her dagger glinting as she shifts. Keep rowing, she says, like it's just another Tuesday. You're not built for this. Your stealth's more tripping over a pig than silent operative. Joke 2. You spotting danger. That's like a blind bard winning at darts, pure luck. Zero skill. The torch moves closer, and now you hear voices. Low and sharp. Louis's men, bandits, either way. You're in deeper than a squire at a dragon's den. Here's a quirky fact. Medieval travelers often used river crossings like the Loire as trade and escape routes, but they were dicey currents, could flip boats, and toll collectors were basically legalized robbers. Eleanor's got a pouch of coins to bribe anyone waiting, but you're carrying it, and you're terrified you'll fumble it into the river. You're rowing harder now. The bank so close you can smell damp earth, but the torchlight's pacing you, and a figure emerges, a man in a cloak, waving a signal. Eleanor curses under her breath. A rare crack in her armor. Betrayal, she mutters. You're almost at the shore when the trap springs. Two more figures appear, crossbows glinting. The cloaked man shouts, Halt. In the king's name you recognize him, Giles. The merchant from Blois. That snake sold you out. Your heart's pounding like a war drum, and you're wondering why you didn't stick to herding sheep. Joke 3. You trusting Giles. That's like me betting on a three-legged horse. Doomed. From the start. Eleanor's already moving, tossing her cloak to distract them. Row, she snaps. You lunge. The boat lurching toward a cluster of reeds. Let's dive into a scholarly debate. Historians like Dr. Elizabeth A. R. Brown argue Eleanor faced constant betrayal from vassals torn between her and Louis, with men like Giles flipping for gold or favor. Others, like Dr. Fan, John Gillingham, say her charisma kept most loyal, and betrayals were rare. You're siding with Brown Giles' double-cross stings like a slap. You're shoving the boat into the reeds. Eleanor leaping out with the grace of a cat. You're less graceful. Splashing like a drunk duck. She pulls you up. Her grip iron. Move, she says. And you're stumbling through mud. Crossbow bolts hissing past. You're sprinting now. Reeds slashing your shins. Eleanor's ahead, dodging trees like she's memorized the forest. You're clutching the medallion. Its glow pulsing like a heartbeat. It's saved you before, back in Poitiers. And now it's your only comfort. You're passing Eleanor her coin pooch. Your hands shaking. For the next bribe. You gasp. She nods, tucking it away. Joke 4. You running from crossbows. That's like me dodging taxes. Spoiler. I'd get caught. The torchlight's fading. But Giles's men are close. Their shouts echoing. You're not a hero. But you're keeping up. Barely. You reach a clearing where a horse waits. Tied by Eleanor's allies. She mounts, pulling you up behind her. The horse bolts, and you're clinging to her like a scared kid. The forest blurs, and you're praying you don't fall off. Eleanor's voice cuts through. We're not done, she says. Her tone steel. You're nodding, but your brain's stuck on Giles's betrayal. The medallion's glow dims, like it's sulking. You're safe for now, but the river's behind you, and Anjou's still miles away. Joke 5. You, surviving a chase. That's like a lute, outlasting a storm. Miraculous, but shaky. The horse slows, and you're catching your breath. The fog lifting to reveal dawn's pink glow. Eleanor's plotting the next move. Her mind a chessboard. You're just happy to be alive. Slumped against her back. The world's quiet, save for birdsong in your pounding heart. You're picturing Aquitaine's sunlit hills, where Eleanor will rule. The medallion's weight grounds you. A callback to Bloise's firelight. It's more than a trinket, maybe a talisman. For now, you're riding on. The river's betrayal fading. As Eleanor's fire pulls you forward, you're holed up in a gritty castle in Anjou. Where the air smells of damp stone and plotting. Eleanor of Aquitaine's pacing like a caged lioness. Arrowburn hair loose. Her eyes sparking with plans sharper than a falcon's talons. You're no strategist. Your idea of cunning is hiding bread from a hungry goose, but you're her go-to for small tasks. Like passing secret notes to her allies. The silver medallion, that lion-engraved trinket, is tucked in your tunic. Its faint glow pulsing like it's eavesdropping. You're exhausted, still rattled from Giles's betrayal at the river. But Eleanor's energy is contagious. This castle, owned by her vassal Lord Raymond, is your sanctuary for now. King Louis VII's spies are circling, and you're praying the walls hold tighter than your nerves. The great hall's a mess of flickering torches and tense whispers. Knights lounge, sharpening swords, while a bard strums a lute like he's auditioning for Eleanor's approval. You're weaving through, clutching a folded note for Raymond. Your pilgrim disguise swapped for a squire's tunic that itches worse than a flea infestation. Joke 1. You blending in with knights that's like a pig waltzing at a ball, cute. But you're fooling no one. Eleanor catches your grimace and smirks. You look like you'd rather be mucking stables. She says. You mutter something about preferring goats to intrigue. But she's already scanning the room. Reading loyalties like a map. Let's root this in history. The orthodox event is Eleanor's strategic retreat to Anjou in 1152, where she rallied vassals to protect her claim to Aquitaine. After escaping Louis's clutches, she needed strongholds like this to outmaneuver his forces. You're her courier, dodging suspicious glares from knights who think you're too clumsy to be trusted. The note you're carrying details a meeting at Beaugency, where the church will finalize her annulment. If it gets intercepted, you're toast. You hand it to Raymond, a grizzled lord with a scar like a lightning bolt. He grunts, tucking it away, but his eyes linger on you like you're a puzzle he doesn't trust. The castle's alive with scheming. Eleanor's holding court by a hearth, charming a trio of barons into swearing loyalty. You're nearby, refilling her wine goblet, eavesdropping like a nosy servant. She's spinning tales of Aquitaine's wealth, her voice smooth as silk. But you catch the steel beneath. You're in awe, your charisma's more awkward wave than royal command. Joke 2. You charming a crowd that's like me winning a joust. Spoiler, I'd be the lance's first victim. A knight nudges you, mistaking you for a real squire. Fetch my helm. He barks. You nod, praying you don't trip over his sword. Here's a quirky fact. Medieval castles like this one often had secret passages, used for escapes or smuggling. Raymond's shown you one behind a tapestry, a narrow tunnel smelling of mold. You're carrying a candle, tasked with hiding Eleanor's poetry book. There, it's too risky to keep in her chambers. The book's heavy with her notes, maybe even battle plans. You're paranoid it'll get damp, but you stash it, the medallion glowing as you work. You're back in the hall when a scout bursts in, breathless. Louis's men, 2 leagues away. The room tenses, and Eleanor's gaze locks on you. Stay close, she says. You nod, heart racing like a warhorse, suspicions thick as the castle's walls. A knight named Thibaut keeps eyeing you, his hand on his dagger. You're passing Eleanor a quill when he corners you. Who are you? Really, he growls. You stammer, clutching the medallion like it'll save you. Joke 3. You dodging a knight's glare. That's like me outrunning a wolf legs moving. But doom's closer. Eleanor intervenes, her voice cutting like a blade. He's mine, she says, and Thibaut backs off, muttering. You're grateful, but you're no spy. Your cover's shakier than a straw roof in a storm. Let's explore a scholarly debate. Historians like Dr. Alison Weir argue Eleanor's time in Anjou was a diplomatic masterstroke, securing allies through charm and promises of Aquitaine's wealth. Others, like Dr. Martin Aurel, suggest she faced internal dissent, with vassals like Thibaut wavering under Louis's pressure. You're with Weir. Eleanor's too sharp to lose control. You're slipping her a coded message, written in her troubadour slang to confuse snoopers. It says, Beaugency, full moon, your new cryptographer. But you're proud it's legible. She tucks it away, her nod a rare pat on the back. The night deepens, and the castle quiets, save for the bard's soft tune. You're by the hearth, polishing a knight's boots to keep up your squire act. The medallion's glow catches Eleanor's eye. Still got it, she asks. You nod, showing it. She touches the lion, her face unreadable. It's old, she says. Older than me. You're curious, but a shout cuts you off. Scouts, spot torches in the woods. Louis's men are closer than your last bad decision. Joke 4, you facing an ambush. That's like me cooking for a feast burnt chaos. Warranted. Eleanor's already rallying Raymond's men, her voice a spark in the dark. You're sent to the battlements, passing orders to archers. The wind's sharp, and you're shivering. The medallion your only warmth. You spot Eleanor below, directing knights like a general. You're no warrior. Your fighting's more flailing with a broom than swordplay. But you're helping, shouting her commands. The torches retreat. A false alarm. And you slump, relieved. Joke 5, you surviving a siege scare. That's like a loot surviving a tavern brawl, dumb luck. Eleanor finds you, her grin fierce. Not bad, she says. You're beaming, but Beaugency's days away, and the medallion's glow feels heavier, tying you to her saga. The castle's still, moonlight painting the walls. You're drifting, picturing Aquitaine's golden fields, where Eleanor will reign. The medallion's a callback to the river's edge, its lion a silent vow. You're no hero, but you're part of her fire. The bard's song hums, a lullaby for your nerves. As Anjou's shadows cradle you toward dawn, you're riding hard across Anjou's rolling hills. Etienne Bouchard, the wind whipping your face like it's got a personal vendetta. Eleanor of Aquitaine's in the lead, Her mare missed, galloping like freedom itself. Her lion banner snapping above. You're on a borrowed steed, thankfully not. Stumbles clutching the reins and praying you don't tumble into a ditch. The silver medallion, that lion-engraved talisman, glows hot in your tunic, like it's cheering Eleanor's triumph. You're no cavalier, your riding's more panicked bounce than knightly charge, but you're her shadow, racing toward Beaugency, where her annulment from King Louis VII will seal her escape. Aquitaine's sunlit fields are close, and you're carrying her final coded note, your heart pounding louder than the hooves. The road's dusty, lined with oaks that whisper of spring. Eleanor's radiant, her auburn hair flying, her grin sharp enough to cut steel. You're still reeling from the castle's close call, but she's all fire, like she's already queen of the world. Joke 1. You keeping up with Eleanor, that's like me racing a hawk on foot wings. Win. Every time. She glances back, catching your wobble. Don't fall now. She calls. We're almost legends. You mutter about needing a nap, but the medallion's heat spurs you on. A callback to Poitiers stables, Blois' hearth, the river's edge, and Anjou's battlements. Let's tie this to history. The orthodox event is the annulment at Beaugency in March 1152, where the church dissolved Eleanor's marriage to Louis on flimsy consanguinity grounds. It was a diplomatic coup, freeing her to reclaim Aquitaine and ditch Louis's pious cage. You're her courier. The note in your satchel detailing her terms for the council. If Louis spies snagget, you're done. You're riding through a hamlet, where peasants gawk at Eleanor's banner. A kid waves, and you toss him a coin from her pouch, feeling briefly heroic until your horse snorts, nearly bucking you off. The council's near, but danger's closer. You spot riders on a ridge, their cloaks marked with Louis's fleur-de-lis. Your stomach lurches. Eleanor, you shout, pointing. She nods, veering toward a forest. You follow, branches clawing your face. Joke 2, you dodging royal knights, that's like me evading a tax collector. Spoiler, I'd trip first. The medallion's blazing now, like it's warning you. Eleanor's calm, hair dagger ready, but you're sweating, wondering why you didn't stick to milling flour. You're weaving through pines, the rider's hoofbeats fading, but you're not safe yet. Here's a quirky fact. Medieval annulments often hinged on bizarre technicalities, like distant cousinhood, but Eleanor's was a spectacle, with bishops debating while she stared them down. You're picturing her at Beaugency, outwitting clerics like a chess master. You're carrying her poetry book again, retrieved from Anjou's secret passage, its pages heavy with her notes. You hand it to her during a brief pause, your hands shaking. She tucks it away, her eyes softening. You've done well, she says. You're stunned. Your confidence is usually more lost sheep than trusted ally. You're nearing Beaugency when a scout, loyal to Eleanor, gallops up. The council's gathered, he says, but Louis's men are circling. Eleanor's unfazed, plotting like she's already won. You're passing her a water skin, your small role in her saga. The medallion's glow catches her eye. It's hers, she says, touching it. My mother's. You're floored. It's a family heirloom, tying you to her lineage. Joke 3, you carrying a queen's heirloom. That's like me guarding the crown jewels. I'd drop them in a moat. She chuckles, spurring Mist forward. Let's dive into a scholarly debate. Historians like Dr. Teresa Ehrenfeit argue Eleanor engineered the annulment to secure Aquitaine and pivot to a new alliance, soon marrying Henry Plantagenet. Others, like Dr. Constance Bouchard, say the church drove the split. Wary of Eleanor's influence, you're with Ehrenfeit. Eleanor's too cunning to be a pawn. You're riding into Beaugency now, the cathedral's spires looming. You dismount, handing the note to a bishop's aide. Your heart racing. The aide nods, and you're praying it's enough. Eleanor's already inside, facing the council like a lioness. The annulment's done in hours. Eleanor's free. You're outside, slumped against a wall, the medallion cooling, Louis's riders are gone. Outmaneuvered. Eleanor emerges. Her banner high. Aquitaine hers again. She finds you. Her grin fierce. We did it, she says. And you're beaming. A nobody who helped a queen. Joke 4. You outwitting a king. That's like a lute outsmarting a storm, pure magic. The townsfolk cheer. And you're caught in the revelry. Picturing her ruling Aquitaine's golden hills. You're riding south now. The medallion, a warm weight. Its lion, a symbol of her victory. You're no hero. Your heroics are more accidental stumble than epic quest. But you've played your part. Joke 5. You in a queen's saga. That's like me starring in a ballad I'd forget the lines. Eleanor's voice cuts through. Keep that medallion, she says. It suits you. You nod. The world bright with her fire. As Aquitaine's promise hums on the horizon, the road fades. My friends, and you're resting under Aquitaine's stars. Their glow soft as a lullaby. The medallion's cool now, nestled in your palm. Its lion watching over you like Eleanor's spirit. You're safe, far from Louis's spies, the river's betrayal, or Anjou's tense nights. Picture her banner fluttering in a warm breeze. Gold against a vineyard's green. The air's sweet, with lavender, and a distant troubadour strums, his notes weaving through your dreams. You're no knight, no schemer, just you, cradled by history's hum. The castle's stones, the river's rush, the hoofbeats they're gone, only peace remains. Wrapping you like a quilt, let the stars dim, the night deepen, sleep well, carried by Eleanor's fire. As Aquitaine's hills sing you to rest, script complete, sleep well.